Ukraine's quest to modernize its air force and secure long-term aerial superiority in its war with Russia may be on the verge of another breakthrough. Following the long-awaited pledges of US-made F-16 Fighting Falcons and French Mirage 2000 fighters, Sweden has now signaled its intent to potentially provide Saab JS-39 Gripen jets to Kyiv. This development, if confirmed, would mark a profound shift in both Sweden's security posture and Ukraine's battlefield capabilities, reinforcing the trend of NATO countries supplying increasingly advanced and diverse weapon systems to Ukraine. The possibility of Gripen transfers has been circulating for months, but recent signals from Stockholm suggest that Sweden is more open than ever to the idea. Swedish defense officials, buoyed by the country's formal accession to NATO earlier this year, have acknowledged that the Gripen, long marketed as a cost-effective, highly capable multi-role fighter, could be an ideal fit for Ukraine's pressing needs. Unlike the US F-16, which demands long, well-maintained runways and a robust maintenance infrastructure, the Gripen was specifically designed during the Cold War to operate from Sweden's dispersed road bases and rough airstrips. For Ukraine, whose airfields are constant targets of Russian missile and drone attacks, that adaptability could prove decisive. The Gripen's suitability lies not only in its ruggedness but also in its versatility. Armed with a wide range of NATO standard munitions, from beyond visual range Meteor missiles to precision-guided bombs, the aircraft offers Ukraine the ability to expand its tactical options in the sky. Its advanced avionics, electronic warfare systems, and data link capabilities would allow Ukrainian pilots to operate seamlessly within NATO air doctrine. Military analysts stress that Gripens could provide Ukraine with much-needed flexibility. They could scramble quickly for air defense, engage Russian aircraft with advanced radar and missiles, and even conduct precision strikes deep into contested territory. This move also reflects Sweden's own evolving role in European defense. Historically neutral for much of the 20th century, Stockholm has gradually shifted closer to NATO in recent decades, culminating in its formal membership earlier this year. While Sweden had initially been reluctant to consider exporting Gripens to Ukraine, citing its own defense requirements and regional security concerns, the country's entry into NATO has changed the calculus. By offering Gripens, Sweden would not only demonstrate its commitment to Ukraine's survival but also cement its position as a more active security contributor within the alliance. Ukraine, for its part, has already embarked on an ambitious program of integrating Western fighters into its force structure. The introduction of F-16s, pledged by multiple NATO countries including the Netherlands, Denmark, and Norway, marked a historic turning point, signaling the gradual phasing out of Ukraine's aging Soviet-era MiGs and Sukhois. France's decision to supply Mirage 2000 fighters added another dimension, providing Ukraine with aircraft optimized for both air defense and ground attack missions. Now, with Gripens potentially joining the fleet, Ukraine could soon operate one of the most diverse and modernized air forces outside of NATO itself. Yet this diversification presents challenges as well as opportunities. Integrating three different Western fighter types, F-16s, Mirages, and Gripens, into a single air force requires enormous investment in pilot training, maintenance, logistics, and spare parts management. Each aircraft type demands its own ecosystem of support equipment and technical expertise. Ukrainian pilots, many of whom have already undergone conversion training in Western countries, would need to adapt to multiple platforms at once. While NATO partners have promised long-term training and logistical backing, the complexity of sustaining such a mixed fleet in wartime cannot be underestimated. Nevertheless, Kyiv sees these challenges as necessary steps in building a modern, NATO-compatible air force. For President Volodymyr Zelensky's government, acquiring Western fighters carries symbolic as well as practical weight. It signals Ukraine's irreversible departure from the Soviet military legacy and its deeper integration into the Western defense system. It also sends a powerful message to Moscow, that the West is committed to ensuring Ukraine does not merely survive but eventually thrives with state-of-the-art military capabilities. For Russia, the prospect of Ukraine flying Gripens would represent yet another strategic complication. Already struggling to adapt to Ukraine's introduction of advanced Western long-range missiles, precision artillery, and drone warfare, Russia would now face a multi-layered aerial threat. The Gripen's Meteor missile, for example, outranges many of Russia's standard air-to-air weapons, potentially forcing Russian pilots to rethink their engagements. Additionally, the Gripen's electronic warfare suite could degrade Russian radar and missile systems, giving Ukraine more breathing space in contested airspace. Diplomatic discussions surrounding a possible Gripen transfer are still in flux, but insiders note that the momentum is shifting in Ukraine's favor. Reports suggest that Ukrainian pilots have already tested the Gripen in evaluation flights, and some Swedish lawmakers have voiced support for a limited transfer, possibly in the form of leased jets. The timeline for deliveries remains uncertain, and Sweden must balance its own defense needs against Ukraine's urgent requests. Still, the very fact that Stockholm is publicly entertaining the option underscores how far Europe has come in abandoning earlier taboos about supplying Kyiv with advanced combat aircraft. If realized, the arrival of Gripens in Ukrainian service would further internationalize Ukraine's air war. F-16s represent American aerospace power, Mirages embody French defense contributions, and Gripens would highlight Sweden's emergence as a confident NATO member. Together, they would form a patchwork but formidable arsenal, giving Ukraine new tools to challenge Russian aircraft, protect its skies, and strike back more effectively against aggression. The coming months may reveal whether Sweden takes the historic step of sending Gripens eastward, an act that would not only reshape Ukraine's air force but also redefine Sweden's role in European security for decades to come.